Reading books and studying spells, she gained amazing wisdom. The queen who outlasted all with her bravery and constitution. Saturnia Butterfly, the Wise, the third Night Queen. Born 72, 142 AM. Died Spleenax 29 to 112 AM. Reigned 163 AM to 190 AM. Married to Yellow Scripture. Children Asteria Butterfly. Saturnia was born to Queen Febe and King Rowan on 72, 142 AM. She possessed her father's lilac hair and her grandfather Plura's grey eyes, and wore purple 8-pointed stars on her cheeks. The princess grew up with no memory of her father, as she was very young when he was killed. She also grew up with a sister by her side, as at 2 years old, on Mother's Day 144 AM, she gained her little sister Celia Butterfly, who had her mother's red hair, her father's blue eyes, and orange arrows on her cheeks. Saturnia grew up under the caring eyes of the Queen Mother Harmony, who taught her all about proper manners, behaving like a lady, and how to read and write. Saturnia's insatiable thirst for knowledge soon became apparent, as she always took a book with her on outings, and would try to weave engravings around the halls of meetings that Febe took her to. The princesses were virtually inseparable, and Saturnia hated going anywhere that Celia couldn't follow. Saturnia also took to parties, dancing gracefully with young nobles and foreign royals at her mother's many balls and celebrations. It would soon seem fit for Saturnia to pursue a formal education through tutoring, and she took this pursuit happily, as she was always delighted to learn more about the world around her. Saturnia was very good at politics, but disliked hanging out with other nobles' sons, as she found them loud and irritating. Saturnia was also a deeply religious woman, who would always go to solariums and prayed every night before bed. When the wand was passed to Saturnia, she was eager to receive it, and was in awe of its power. The princess would train under me diligently in any spare moment, and made many new spells in her time. The princess was met with jealousy by many noble children for her intellect and unconditional love from the queen. Saturnia did have her friends though, her most notable one being Raven Redbird, daughter of the Redbird noble house. The princess also became well versed in science, and showed a large interest in it. Saturnia was soon tasked with having to keep her mother's spirit up when her grandmother, Harmony Butterfly, passed away on Gravnock 42, 158 AM, shortly followed by her great aunt Felicia Solar on Gravnock 72, 158 AM. Saturnia and Celia visibly struggled when their mother isolated herself from all contact for 3 months, but kept each other going with their own company. The princess loved attending the Lonely Star Ball and danced with her friend, Fir Forest. They spent the night playfully poking fun at each other and laughing as they ate. Febe asked Saturnia if she liked Fir, and Saturnia quickly clarified that he was just a long-time friend of hers. Febe was not expecting that answer, but she respected it. Saturnia had formed a strong bond with many landholders and ministers by this point, and they were all preparing together for Saturnia to take the throne after her 21st birthday. Saturnia began to spend much more time in the library, and liked to tutor children there, as well as read many books for herself. She also valued the history of the library as the 3rd greatest project of her 4th great-grandmother Amera the Builder. Here, she met Yellow Scripture, keeper of the books, and she quickly befriended the young man. Saturnia soon became queen, and was already being praised for her knowledge and excellence in diplomacy. Celia happily spent as much time as possible with her sister, something that Saturnia was always happy about. Unbeknownst to Queen Saturnia, the girl who was a knight's daughter had been more and more jealous of the queen as they got older. Her name was Titania Plates, and she was about to commit a heinous act. On the night of Darsak 23, 164 AM, Saturnia was reviewing her plans for a law to be put forward, and Saturnia approached the queen. Not knowing her true intentions, Saturnia exchanged pleasantries with Titania, till Titania suddenly attacked the queen with a knife. Titania stabbed Celia around the head and neck multiple times, but before she could cut the queen's throat, Celia stepped between them, attacking Titania and fending her off with her own dagger. Titania fainted after this, and when she woke up, she was in her bed. Saturnia's family surrounded her, and Febe hugged her daughter as she explained to the knights and her mother what had happened. Queen Saturnia, the royal guard, Princess Salil, and the Queen Mother Thebe searched the kingdom for Saturnia, and it was eventually Thebe that caught and turned in Saturnia. Saturnia was executed in public for treason, and Saturnia held a ceremony with all of her family present, where she rewarded Salil for saving her life and her bravery with a medal. Salil then gained the royal title of Salil the Selfless as the result of her actions. A year later, when the Queen was in better health and had gained a romantic partner in yellow scripture, he suddenly proposed to her. Saturnia was overjoyed and accepted his proposal without a second thought. Yellow and Saturnia were soon married, and Saturnia was so happy that her life could be happier after the traumatic events of 1:64 a.m. Saturnia continued on with her duties, though she did seem to be experiencing intense bouts of paranoia due to her attempted assassination. Saturnia then happily found out she was pregnant, and on Zamorano 26, 169 a.m., she gave birth to her lone child and heir, Asteria butterfly. She had her father's orange hair and pink eyes, and wore pink 5-pointed stars on her cheeks. Saturnia tutored her daughter lovingly, and watched over and fostered Princess Asteria's manly nature. Saturnia continued to be a diligent and just queen, which was more popular with her than it was with her grandmother Harmony. The Queen loved seeing how Asteria took to Thebe, and they talked for many nights about the stars, and often danced together in the twilight at the gardens. Saturnia was happy that her daughter was much more popular as a child than Siva's, but somehow wished she could have been that popular. Asteria was diagnosed with a condition in her nether regions when she was 7, after complaining of repeated and varying levels of discomfort there. Saturnia felt extreme empathy for her daughter, who only wanted to become a mother. The Queen always thought that something was going to come for Asteria's friendship with Orion Firefly, as she could see how good they were to each other. Asteria also became a friend to children, taking up reading in the library with her children, to Yellow and Saturnia's delight. Asteria soon inherited the wand and seemed to take to emotional spells, casting her calming wave spell on Saturnia frequently at her request to help with her paranoia and stress. The princess and the king danced happily at Asteria's Song Day festival, while Saturnia danced with Salil and Thebe danced with the moon. The family all had lots of fun and were excited to see what Asteria would bring as Queen of Mewni. Saturnia was right about her daughter and Orion, as they came to the Queen when Asteria was 17 to announce their relationship to her and King Yellow. Both parents were happy for them as they saw how diligent and brave Orion was and how happy he made Asteria. Saturnia and Yellow watched fondly as Thebe eagerly helped Asteria decorate for her Lonely Star Ball. Saturnia was pleased with how Asteria arranged her Lonely Star Ball and her dance with Orion, and so, in front of all of the nobles, she gave Asteria and Orion's relationship her official blessing. Remarkably, Orion became tearful and thanked the Queen, and Asteria jumped into his arms, and they emotionally spun each other around, laughing through happy tears. Saturnia was grief-stricken when the Queen Mother Thebe passed away from a heart attack on Provence 10, 176 a.m. Her sister and her family shared their grief and helped each other to make it through this difficult time. Remarkably, Asteria married Orion before she took the crown, and her heir came a year before she became queen. Such a thing was unheard of at this time, but the kingdom accepted it, with Saturnia and Yellow simply be happy for their daughter and new son-in-law. The child in question was Asteria butterfly, who had her grandmother's purple hair and her father's purple eyes. She bore purple fleur-de-lis on her cheeks and was born on 36, 189 a.m. Saturnia then passed down the crown to Asteria, who remarkably held her infant daughter in the portrait of her coronation. Saturnia then knew that Asteria would defy convention like her own mother. Asteria was excited when Asteria showed Saturnia's hair, and Saturnia was happy at her daughter's excitement. Saturnia mostly spent time with her family, showing interest in Asteria's determination and grace. Saturnia was only partially aware of her daughter's plan to save the children and her daughter, telling Saturnia to act as regent until her return. 5 months later, Saturnia, Yellow, Salil, and Orion greeted Asteria with tears when she returned with 86 children, including Asteria. Saturnia would reportedly not leave Asteria's side for 3 weeks after the event. Salil and Saturnia also rewarded Asteria for her heroism with a medal in a ceremony reminiscent of Salil being rewarded for saving her sister's life. Asteria's condition was worsening since having Asteria, and though the family pretended to be happy, all knew that it would claim her sometime soon. Saturnia watched as Asteria trained and became a beautiful young lady. Tragically, Saturnia became a widow on Saturnia 4, 205 AM, when King Yellow passed away from natural causes. Saturnia would never wear colour again, and was nearly silent and pensive for months. Asteria spent some time outside after her dance at the Lonely Star Ball with Saturnia, as she disliked parties. That same year, Princess Soleil passed away due to heart complications on Square 6, 207 AM. Saturnia fell to pieces in anguish, but made herself be happy, for she knew her daughter didn't have much time left. Asteria eventually passed away on 73, 209 AM due to her condition. Asteria, Saturnia, and Orion were heartbroken, and the kingdom mourned for an additional 3 months on top of the royal mourning for the heroic queen. Saturnia was brought to tears when she witnessed Asteria gain the crown, and had to be comforted by her granddaughter. Saturnia also approved greatly of the Code of Asteria, and created the official display of it, as well as put it into the first pages of the Magic Book of Spells. Saturnia also happily congratulated Asteria and Germain at their marriage by putting her arm around them both. She got along quite well with Germain, and considered him a gentleman. On Spleenex 29, 212 AM, Saturnia passed away during the evening from natural causes. The queen who outlasted all was fondly remembered by all of her family.